We have the senior management of the company with us today, represented by Mr. Himanshu Baid, Managing Director, and Mr. Avinash Chandra, Company Secretary. With this, I will hand over this call to Mr. Baid to the opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mitesh, and thank you, everyone. Good afternoon to everybody who's on the call today and to all the esteemed shareholders and friends. So I just would like to take you through the earnings of quarter two and the highlights of H1 of the current financial year. And just wanted to update that the net sales of the company grew by around 11% from quarter to quarter, from 199.63 crores to 223 crores. So there was an 11% increase. And we look at H1 to H1 growth. So we grew the revenue from 350.85 crores to 415 crores. There was an 18% increase. So we are in line with our guidance for the whole year of 17 to 18% growth, which we had initially committed in the beginning of the year. And we continue to stand by our guidance that our overall growth will be 17 to 18%. Of course, there are a lot of headwinds right now which we face as a company, and the challenges are also on the supply chain. The current supply chain is badly affected because many imports, which Polymed has around 190 vendors, overseas vendors, and we import a lot of our 70% of our raw material which we use is imported from those 190 vendors which are around the world. So we are facing a lot of disruption right now of raw material getting delayed. And of course, the prices are all-time high right now because a lot of our raw materials are crude dependent and a lot of prices have increased 60-70% in many cases. And even the packaging material which we use, like the paper, carton, boards and everything which you have to use for packaging of our products, that has also almost doubled. So we see a massive price increase, but we have also done a lot of cost rationalization, cost optimization. We also increased pricing of customers sequentially. So that is helping us to, maintain our margins, which what we have maintained right now. Of course, there's a pressure on the margins. Raw material cost, if we see in the quarter itself, has increased from close to 33% to 36%, which is overall of the sales price. Export incentives is almost close to zero right now because MEIS last year we had MEIS till December 2020. After that, RoDTAP has been introduced, but currently the percentage allocated to RoDTAP is 0.5%. So this is very, very low compared to the MEIS you were getting earlier. And of course, the packaging material cost has also increased from 6% to 7.31% on the sales value. So there is a cost increase, and that is the reason we have seen a dip in EBITDA margin from close to 27-28% to around 23.22%. But overall, if we see H1 to H1 comparison, from 28% of last year EBITDA margin, the margin has dropped to around 25.17. So for the H1 margin drop is around 3%, but if you look at quarter to quarter comparison, we have a 5%, 4.5% dip in EBITDA margin. And mainly is due to raw material costs and the supply chain issues we have. All our inward freight costs have increased dramatically. In fact, what we were paying, let's say, to get a container from, let's say, China or Korea or from Malaysia, the costs have almost tripled or quadrupled, or from Europe or USA. So there's a major change in that. Also, when we export our products, I think we are also facing some headwinds for exports because there is a very big difficulty in getting containers in time. In fact, today if you ask for a container, the price is changing every day. So if the freight for, let's say, Brazil is $10,000, so tomorrow the freight cost will come to 11,000 and next day is 12,000. So it is changing so rapidly that sometimes it's very hard to even book the containers and get the goods out of the country. So there is a big challenge. So overall, if we see the export growth has been around close to around 10.5% in H1 to H1, and domestic business has grown by around 35%. So there's a big jump in domestic business because our focus has been to grow the domestic business, though it's slightly lower profitability is there in this business. But we think that as we grow the domestic business more and more, our overhead costs will keep on coming down, and this business will also become equally profitable as our export business. So we continue to grow that. We have put in a lot of new resources in domestic business. We also hired a new head for our vascular business, which is our biggest business. Arun Sondi has joined the company from Dabur, and he has got an experience from Biocon, Dr. Reddy's, and Vocard, and a lot of other big pharmaceutical companies. So he has joined the company on 1st September. And also, we are also getting a new head for our diagnostic business. He's joining on 15 November. So a lot of new addition is happening at the top leadership level to grow the domestic business. On the export front, we have grown only by 10%. From 241 crores, the revenue has gone to 266 crores. But I think the biggest chunk has come from Europe. In spite of the fact that whole of Europe was impacted because of COVID in last, and even today, you can see in Germany, UK, Russia, and all large countries, they are again impacted by COVID fourth wave. So, but in spite of all those things, business is growing, and we hope that once things settle down, we'll see a further ramp up in revenues in this market. We are also working on few new contracts, and hopefully, by end of the year, we'll be able to close these contracts, and this will further help us to increase our revenue in Europe. Our Italian subsidiary this year will show a positive revenue. Last year there was a dip in revenue because of COVID, -5%. But this year we will see a revenue growth of over 25% in the Italian subsidiary because they have stabilized now, and now they are seeing the growth back slowly. So we see that. In US, we've already applied for US FDA, as I told you on the last call. We are waiting for the clearances to happen by end of the year or early next year. We have also hired more people. We hired a new R&D head who has joined the company on 1st September. We have also hired a new sales manager who has also joined the company on 1st September. And Kim Shelby, who was hired last year, is the CEO of the company there. We have formed a new subsidiary company called PolyHealth Incorp. And this company will be responsible for business in US. And we are already building the whole organization there, and then we are already in touch with a lot of large GPOs. And once we have our FDA approvals, we should be able to start getting some revenue out of US early next year. We have introduced some new products already. This year, last 4 or 5 months, we have introduced our new Huber needle for oncology use. We have added some test kits to our portfolio in the diagnostic range. We have also launched AD auto-disable syringes, which are used for vaccination. So this product will start commercial production in November from now. And we have already received first order from the government. It's a small order of around 2.5 crores. But I think as time progresses, we see next year, once we ramp up capacity and once we ramp up more, we will see more business coming for these products. And maybe also there is export potential to go forward. We have also introduced, we are going to launch ECG electrodes by end of this year, and which is also a product which is used widely in hospitals and in clinics. And we have also launched a nebulizer machine early this year, and that is also now commercially available. So these are some of the new products. There are a lot of other products in pipeline. So we plan to launch around 7 to 8 products every year, and we still have many products in pipeline and under development through the program. In terms of the company's rating has also changed after in the current financial year. The rating has changed so CRISIL is rating the company. So our long-term previous rating was A. Now it is upgraded to AA minus, and short-term previously was A1. Now it has been changed to A1 plus, and rating watch outlook is stable. On the capex front, we are still investing in the 2 new plants, so they are on track. Though there was certain delay because of COVID issues in April, May, June. But since then, the construction is in full swing of the 2 plants, one in Faridabad and one extension in Jaipur. Full extension of a plant in Jaipur. And till September 30th, we spent close to 48 crores. From 1st of April to 30th September, we spent around 48 crores in expansion. And we plan that in next 12 months, we'll spend another 150 crores when these plants are ready and fully ready for manufacturing. Uh, Currently, the money we raised through QIP, some money was used to, retire some, high cost debt, which we have done already. 61 crores of debt has already been retired in the company. And that's the reason you see the interest cost dropping substantially. And also, 48 crores has been used in capex. Of course, we have some increase in debtors, and also the raw material stock inventory levels increased in the current first 6 months. And the mainly reason is there's some delay in payments from the government right now. And also, I think also in the private sector, we saw some delay in payments from major hospitals, and also some export payments. People are looking for longer cycles, and the supply chain issue has also, kind of precipitated this crisis of little delay in payments. So our debtors have increased from 66 days to around 75 days. It is still under control, but I would say that it has, impacted us around 25-30 crores in terms of cash flow. And but hopefully in next 3 to 4 months we should bring it back to the normal level of 65 to 66 days. Also, we have an increase in inventory right now because the cost of materials has increased because of the change in raw material pricing. And also in anticipation, we knew that if the prices will increase, so we've been sequentially buying some additional raw materials over last 6 months. And because there was a disruption in supply chain, whatever inventory we needed to be always ordered around 25-30% extra, because we knew there were delays happening in transit times. So because of that, we have built in certain inventory, and that is the reason we see a slight build-up in inventory around 35-40 crores. But as I think the year ends, I think this level will also normalize, at some point of time. So overall, the company's operations are satisfactory. We are moving as per our plan, and we continue to, bring new technologies. Our R&D expenses also started increasing because we hired a new R&D head in US, and this R&D head is now helping, our team in India to look for design new products, new things which we are doing. Next year, we are going to also bring some cardiology-related products. These are all consumables, nothing to do with stents or anything, but these are all consumable catheters, which we currently do a lot of these catheter products. So this is upgradation of current product range which we have, and this will mainly used for in cardiology applications. So our US R&D head and the team in India are working together to develop this range. And hopefully by middle of next year, we'll also have this product. This is an extension of our vascular access portfolio. So we've moved from, infusion vascular to cardiovascular range. So this is all an extension of the portfolio, but we add more value-added products, more critical care products. So this helps us to further, increase revenues in very niche areas for the company. And definitely these products are definitely high margin business compared to, let's say normal vascular products. So this is what we have right now. And now I'm happy to take any questions from you and answer anything what you want to understand more deeper. Thank you very much once again, for being on this call.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Devesh, an investor. Please go ahead. Devesh, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Just wanted to check your view little long-termish, in the sense that in 3 to 5 years, once all the new capacities come online and US also starts contributing, where do you see Polymed in terms of overall size and focus of the products and growth prospects?
I think it's a difficult question to answer. It's a futuristic question, and we have not issued any guidance for coming years. But what I can give you as a very, let's say, a general view, I think industry is going at 11-12%, overall, and globally it grows around 5-6%. I think our target is to grow, let's say, close to 17 to 18% year on year for next, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And of course, domestic business will grow faster compared to export business in terms of percentage. But if you see the breakup, currently domestic is 35%, export is around 65%. So I think that ratio will remain around 65-35, but the growth rate in domestic will be faster, which is what we see because our penetration is increasing right now. And we are getting into a lot of new products and technology. So I think overall, if you look at organic, 17 to 18% is something what we think is pretty much feasible in next 3 to 5 years. I hope Devesh has answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Pankaj Bhupesha from Dinero Wealth. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I wanted some clarity on the PLI revenue. So when do we see this PLI revenue starts going in?
PLI will start from next financial year. So it is starting from FY 22-23 to FY 26 over next 5 years.
So you are saying that plant will be commissioned by next year beginning
So
or
the plant will be commissioned within this financial year. PLI is also for the existing renal business. So that is what we are scaling up in our existing IMT plant in Faridabad.
Okay. And
additional capacities will come in the new plant in Faridabad also, where we are building one new plant. So additional capacities will come. And PLI is there for 5 years. There's an incremental revenue every year happening.
Yeah. Right. So do we see that we are hitting the ceiling here?
Sorry, Pankaj, you are not clear. Could you repeat that question, please?
I'm saying that we hitting the ceiling revenue. Maximum revenue.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Pankaj Bhupesh. Your audio is breaking up.
Your audio is breaking up. I can't hear you well, actually.
Is it better now?
Slightly better.
Yeah. So I was 1 second. I was saying that are we confident of hitting the ceiling revenues as in the maximum revenues for which we are eligible for the...
Yeah. So that's the reason, we are focusing very high on domestic business and especially the renal business. And renal business is now contributing close to around 20+%, which was last year around 7 to 8% only of the total revenue. So we are scaling up with this faster. It's growing much faster than any other business right now.
And what is the ceiling revenue, sir, which will be doing in PLI?
There is so ceiling revenue is 300 crores in FY 27-28.
Okay.
And so every year we have to do an incremental revenue of 60 crores to hit the target for the renal business.
Okay.
Which also includes exports.
Okay.
For this particular
is there any update on the PLI scheme which was there under diagnostic products which we were talking about?
No. So they have not updated anything on that.
Okay.
Even the first one, they took 9 months to announce the participants or the winners. So out of the 28 slots which were available, only 14 were filled. So 14 slots were still vacant actually for the first PLI scheme.
Okay. So when do you see this PLI under diagnostic products coming in?
I think maybe early next year. The government has not. In fact, they took 1.5 years to announce the medical device parks. Now only last 2-3 weeks ago they have announced 4 medical device parks. Okay. So one is coming in UP, one in MP, one in Himachal, and one in Tamil Nadu.
And do you see the opportunity size will be equally large what we are seeing in the current PLI?
See, no, that is a different. See, diagnostics are different. So we are more in the consumable side of that business. So this will be a smaller size. In diagnostic PLI, it's based on incremental sales. There are no targets. So for every 1 crore the increase in sales, there is a incentive allocated.
And so my last question is,
Yeah.
I want to understand on margin front, then how do we see this margin getting back to the earlier levels of say 26, 27, 28?
I think there's a pressure everywhere because of the commodity price. Only once the commodity prices, especially crude oil prices started to cool down, then only we'll see the plastic prices coming down. So plastic is a major raw material for us.
Right.
And
But we are not able to pass on the same to our customers.
So we are passing on, and otherwise, if we had not passed on the cost, the margin would have been down by at least 10% compared to previous quarters.
Right.
So you can't pass on the cost immediately. Okay, from tomorrow I'm changing my pricing, because in many places we have rate contracts, we have fixed pricing to hospitals which are announced for 1 year. So it will take some time, but gradually we will pass on. A lot of our international customers have already announced that we'll be doing a price increase from November, December, January. So it's already work in progress.
So I think by end of this year we should be at the normalized margins.
Not really. I won't commit that. I will not commit that. It will take still a bit more time. I think. See, it depends on the current. If today, let's say crude goes to $100, then we are back to square one.
Right.
It's a very relative, question right now, because it depends on all this, cycle. Today, paper prices have gone from 25 rupees to 50 rupees for a virgin kraft paper, which we use for making the cardboard boxes. The prices have almost, kind of gone up by 60-70% for boxes only, cartons.
Right.
So it's chemicals we use, the silicons we use, different materials we use, everything has gone up. The steel we use in manufacturing of our tools, molds, everything is increased.
And last question, if I can squeeze in that, you just said that 17-18% is the growth guidance for next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, this is what we think. This is what we are currently. Yeah.
Right. So one thing is that the PLI will contribute, say incrementally, say 10% or something every year, right, from next year. And what are the other growth drivers on the revenue front?
There's US business, European business, India, rest of the business in India.
Right.
Yeah, so there all these businesses are there. So current India business, that is going to grow, and across all the verticals we are working. We have 4 verticals. Next year we're adding something in cardiology, so that will also start giving some revenue.
So is there any target? Like you said that we are introducing 7 to 8 new products every year.
Yeah.
Is there any target these new products will contribute, say, X% of revenue?
See, typically when we look at, internally we have set a target that at least, 15 to 20% revenue should come from new products, which were launched 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is what we monitor normally as a company.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Girish Jain from KJMC Finserv Group. Please go ahead. Girish, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead. Mr. Girish Jain, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you, Giriji.
Yeah, Himanshu-ji, I wanted to just get some more flavor on the US business.
Yeah.
If you can share anything in the public domain in terms of which products are we going to concentrate on, and like you mentioned, some FDA approval is expected by the end of the calendar year, right?
Yeah, correct. So, Giriji, our focus will be on infusion products first, because that is our core portfolio and core business, infusion vascular products. Because 70% of revenue comes from that business totally. If you see the overall revenue of the company, so we are going to focus in that segment first, and then we have identified certain products which are let's say class 1 devices, which doesn't need a very stringent US FDA approval. So we'll be focusing on those kind of products. So that is also on the cards. And then of course we are developing some new products, which we think could be suitable for the US market, special catheters. And this will take some longer time, maybe 12 to 18 months. But we've already started working on those kind of devices also. And because US was shut down for last 18 months, there was no face-to-face meeting. So it was very hard to meet customers. new customers and get let's say them to look at our products or something, and nobody was receiving any parcels or consignments. So I think US has started opening slowly now. So from early next year, we will start having customer visits. Even our team is, which is eagerly going to eagerly wanting to go to customers. They are refusing to their visits to their offices right now. No external visits. So it is going to take some time, and we have lost maybe a year because of COVID. But hopefully, early next year we will start seeing some good results, coming out of US.
So we expect revenue to start working in from first quarter of next year. Is it the same assumption?
I cannot guarantee you that, but hopefully, I imagine maybe yes, quarter one of next financial year. If you see Indian financial year.
Yes, Indian financial year. Yes.
Yes, definitely. That is sure.
And on the new products, you mentioned some products like Huber needle for oncology and auto needle for vaccination and EC electrode.
Yeah.
These new products, what is the contribution margin or the gross margin you expect when you launch these products?
See, Giriji, I can't share you the margin details on new products, specifically on product wise. But these products are like for example, syringes again is a mass market product, auto disable syringe. Just to give an example, a normal syringe is sold around 1 rupee 75 paisa, and auto disable is 2 rupees 25 paisa in the market as a government sale. Government is buying 225. So there is a delta of 40-50 paisa higher than the normal syringe, whereas the cost of raw material manufacturing is similar. So that's the reason we have gone into a slightly, let's say critical product in the market, because that's an auto disable syringe, and that will get us better margins than a normal syringe. And we have always refrained from getting into a normal syringe business. Though all our competitors do syringes, normal syringes like HMD or Romson's or BD's or B Browns, all make normal syringes. We never went into this business because of margin, low margin business. And Huber needle is again a very specialized product used in oncology preparation issues. When they put a port in a cancer patient, they use a Huber needle to infuse drugs into the patient. So this is something which we didn't have in the portfolio. So this will also add, and will help us to sell these products especially in European and Latin American markets.
Sure. A couple of more questions, if I can just.
Please go ahead, Giriji, please.
Any update on the inorganic opportunities that we might be looking at?
Giriji, we don't have anything right now, but if I have something, definitely I'll definitely inform all our esteemed shareholders.
But is it safe to assume that we are looking for acquisitions outside India?
Yes, we are. In India, there's nothing available which we think is suitable for us, and so we are, looking for, especially for technology-based acquisitions, which may be in Europe or in US.
Europe or US. Okay. And last housekeeping question: what is the current debt level? I think we have used 100 crores approximately from the fund which we have raised, QIP.
Yeah. We have used 100 crores. The current debt, if you see, including long term and short term, I can give you a maybe idea on long term and short term both. Can you just give me 1 second, please? So the current debt, if you see I'll have to just flip the numbers today. Naresh is not with me because he is on leave, some family issue. But so long-term debt is currently close to around 75 crores, and short-term debt is close to 40 crores. And long-term is basically the ECB we had raised around 2 years ago. And that is so exactly, it is at 1.35%, the ECB we raised, and we'll have to pay over next 3 years. And working capital is close to around 40 crores basically.
And we will be having some 300 crores in the balance sheet cash left.
Yes, correct. We have around 350 plus crores of cash.
Okay. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you, Giriji.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Vinay from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, Himanshu sir.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Himanshu sir, you said an interesting point wherein you said that if you had not taken a price hike, then the impact on the margin level would have been as high as 10% during the quarter because of the jumping costs everywhere.
Yeah.
So what I want to understand is what is going to be the lead lag factor here. So if, say, for example, if the prices jump 10% today, then how much time does it take for you to take the price hike and pass it on to the customer?
See, basically price is not increasing, let's say, immediately. So it is basically every month you see an increase in pricing of raw material, and you never know where it is going to stop. So you are always, like for example, price of PVC was $1,000 a ton in the beginning of the year. Today is around close to $2,000 a ton.
Right.
So we don't know where it is going to stop. So, you can't just increase price every month to a customer. You are always watching and absorbing. So in most of the contracts, we have a, provision where we say that if there is a major change in raw material pricing, we can increase the pricing, every year to a certain number. Some contracts are 10%, 15%, some are 5%. So we have all these provisions in the contract. So that is on the final sales price. Today, let's say the raw material price is, let's say, is around 35% of my sales price, basically. Now,
Right.
not everything is increasing. Only, let's say, plastic portion is increasing. Some other things are increasing. So wherever we see, now, when I mentioned you, for example, if you look at raw material cost, let's say in quarter 2 of last year was around 33%. In quarter 2 of this financial year, it was 36% of the sales price. So there's a delta of 3% only.
No, I understand that. The reason why I was asking is because you yourself highlighted that the prices are very volatile at the moment.
Yes,
So
they
say,
are.
for example, over the next 3 months, the prices jump another 25%. And if we are this...
So we have a provision to go to our customers to increase the pricing.
No, that I understand.
So
What I want to
sometimes
say
it takes, so there is no
Yeah.
fixed formula for this. It could be 60 days, 90 days, 30 days, depending on the contract we have with the customer. So we have to always give a pre-announcement to a customer. For example, in domestic market, we have intimated already last month, 15th October, that we will be increasing the pricing for 15th November.
Okay.
So, like, we have given a 30-day notice. So, for example, we have given to all our customers in Europe a notice. Let's say we told them in beginning of October that for 15th November to end of November will be increasing pricing by 8 to 15%.
Understood. So we notify our customers 1 month in advance that we'll be taking certain
1
amount
month,
of price
60
hike.
days, depending on the contract.
Understood. Now, what I want to understand is how much time do we wait before we announce it? I mean, for how long do we absorb the cost before we take it to the customers to take the price hike?
So there's no set formula in the business. There's no set formula. You'll have to wait and see how much you can absorb. See, sometimes you have a cost increase, you try to mitigate by bringing in more efficiencies in manufacturing. You churn the portfolio a little bit so that you still sell more high margin products, and you lower the lower margin business. You keep it aside, you slow it down a little bit. So you have to always keep on churning it. So
Correct. That's exactly what I wanted to understand.
Yeah.
The only reason why I was saying is because the prices are so volatile, because see, for example, we are announcing a price hike for the next 1 month. But in the next 1 month, if the raw material prices for that particular product or for that particular segment jumps another 20%.
No, they are not based, these are based on, let's say, today I'm basing the price increase, let's say, based on certain assumptions. Okay, that PVC may go to $2,200. Then we also watch futures, global futures,
Correct.
what is happening in global futures.
Correct.
So if you see the futures coming down, we know that then the price is probably at the peak and the futures are coming down. So that means then that there may be a softening on pricing. So you have to see everything to balance at the right price cost.
Understood. Got it. That is very helpful, sir.
Yeah.
And another thing what I want to understand is that because of this COVID, now there have been recent surges in pockets in Europe and US of COVID cases.
Yeah.
So do you see that in our forecast for the next 3 to 5 years, where we are assuming 17-18% growth, do we see there is a possibility of a miss in our assumption over there, just purely because of the rising cases of COVID?
No, I think, first of all, we have to see that the impact of COVID is not severe as it was last year.
Right.
The number of hospitalizations have reduced, the number of deaths have reduced, to a certain extent. Look at India, for example. Everybody is saying that we will have a second wave of COVID in October. This was given, everybody was announcing it, in June, July. But we have passed of touch wood, we have passed October. We are almost in first week of November, and we still have maybe 10,000 cases from a peak of 4 lakh cases a day. So I think the number of hospitalizations have reduced. Today, if you see around in Bombay, Delhi, large metros, the number of COVID patient hospitals are very, very low right now.
Right.
Globally also, I think most of the people who are getting COVID now are vaccinated and maybe they're getting COVID, so the impact is lower. So in my view, and also a lot of new drugs are coming for COVID. In the terms of pills, a lot of Pfizer is announced, Merck is announced, some other companies are announced. So I think once, we have, it could probably turn into a normal flu going forward. So the impact of COVID probably by end of this year will be kind of minimized.
Understood.
Yeah,
and
so but maybe from next year onward, we'll start seeing a normal growth. Whether it's India, whether it is global markets, we will start seeing that normalcy coming back. There is a lot of pile up of elective surgeries globally. If you look at Europe, US, India, there are pile up of elective surgeries. So I think once and 2 years of continuous COVID, I think there's a huge pile up. So I think the hospital sector is also going to see a good growth. And if hospital grows, I think our business will automatically grow.
Fair enough, sir. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And my last question is that, so what is your take on this, the new pills or drugs which are coming and the kind of impact which it could have on the syringe market in general?
Could you repeat that question?
So what is your take on the syringe market in general, the demand for the syringe market, once these COVID pills, come into full force?
I think one thing we have to understand is that we'll all have to be vaccinated maybe once every year. That is for sure. And you're already seeing booster doses being administered to patients in Europe and America already. They started it.
Right.
So, and that is within 6 months, 8 months, the vaccine efficacy is going down and you need a booster dose. So I think going forward also, we might need a booster dose every year, all of us.
So actually that is where my question was, because if these oral drugs come into play, where you
oral drugs also there will be vaccination. See, today, I don't know, like for example, I take a flu shot every October, November, just to cover all the spectrums of flu.
Correct.
So there is always, a new, let's say spectrum which covers under 21, 22 flus. And then you take a booster dose to ensure that you're protected from flus, different flus which we have today in the world. So every year we'll have to have some kind of a vaccination to ensure that, we don't have flus or COVID. So I think syringe, and plus India is very underpenetrated right now. We are probably using 5 billion syringes over a population of 1.3 billion, population. In my view, the demand will jump to around 10 billion syringes in maybe next 5-6 years, which includes vaccination and also maybe the curative market, because the vaccination awareness is increasing now. Now today, at least 60 to 70% of the population didn't have access to any vaccination in India. So the awareness for different vaccines is also increasing now. And government's budget on healthcare is also increasing, in vaccination drives. So overall, I think, I would say the demand will increase actually rapidly for syringes.
Got it, sir. This is very helpful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Mitesh Shah from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. Sir, regarding the raw material prices increased, but do you face any issues about the availability? The same with the container as well. So do you face any?
There's a big problem. Today, let's say a container we are getting from Korea used to come in 25 days to Faridabad. Now that same container comes in 60 days to 75 days. And same thing is happening from all, our supplies around the world, whether it's USA, whether it's Europe, whether it is, Far East, any country in Far East, it is actually very bad right now.
Are you doing any provision increasing inventories for our raw material?
So yeah, that's what I said. So our inventories increased by around 35-40 crores. And that is the reason we have taken that call to have a extra inventory of materials, and gradually we are building up that inventory so that there's any fallout in global supply chain, at least we are protected with this kind of situation. Touch wood, till now we don't have any problem, but I can't tell you what is going to happen after 2 months or 3 months.
Got it. And about the your export, the container availability is an issue, or the
big issue, big
Okay.
issue.
Okay. And regarding your guidance 17-18%, so what would be the capex you are looking for this next 2 to 3 years?
See, I think we are already planning to invest close to 200 crores in the new plants and in the existing plants. So 150 crores goes in 2 plants and 50 crores goes in the existing plants. So this is already planned for next, let's say, 18 months, from March, let's say April 2021 to, let's say, September 2022. But going forward, this industry is a heavy capex industry. We continue to bring new products, automate. So around 80 crores to 100 crores capex will happen every year as we grow also.
Got it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1. The next question is on the line of Tanush Mehta, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
So my question pertains to 2 things. First thing is that, sir, we are present in the consumable parts of the medical devices sector as a whole.
Yeah.
And here, sir, we are, majorly being competed by the unorganized sectors, because especially in country like India or China, where unorganized or unbranded players have a major hold because of low pricing or quality or whatever we say. So how do we counter them on a global level, and for the time being in India as well, because right now we have threats not only from China but also from the unorganized sector present in India.
So I think there are 2 parts to this question. So first I'll tell you is that, see, we are in business for last 25 years, almost 25 years. So these threats are not new or something which has come up today, or they were not there yesterday. So this is an ongoing process, an ongoing industry. What changes have come in? First I'll talk about the industry or local industry. So now from 1st of October 2021, all medical devices have come under regulation. Earlier only 35 medical devices were regulated. Now 3,000, close to 3,000 devices are under regulation, are in the process of getting regulated. And if you go to CDSCO's website, you will see how government has come in as a staged regulation, that let's say within this year, all critical care devices which are class C and D will get regulated, and another 1 year. So by 2023 September, all medical devices will get regulated in the country. That means all unorganized imports or unorganized manufacturing will stop, like the pharma industry. Like pharma, last 10 years ago, when this whole industry was regulated, all unorganized sector has kind of vanished. So the same thing will happen in medtech sector also. And I also chair the CII National Medical Research Forum, and I also do a lot of advocacy work with the government. And we have been pushing very hard for regulation to come in for medical devices. That's number 1. Number 2, as a company, I think no company in India makes the kind of margin we do in our business. In spite of the fact that today, that's because of the size, and still we are, still doing around 24-25% EBITDA margins. Not a single company in medtech field does that kind of margin, because we have today 300 patents on products and technologies. So that kind of, patents and technologies help us to really stay ahead of the competition, and we are able to drive a better margin on those products, basically.
Okay. Sir, I had, thank you for that explanation. Sir, I had another question that, like, in the current business pie that we are present,
Yeah.
what is our growth potential there? Because I was just looking at the industry as a whole, and as per various reports, it is said that
the other electronic devices which is a medical device. So the pie,
Yep.
that pie of the sector is expected to grow faster and all of that. So, sir, how is our field, the pie in which we are present?
So we expect the growth to be in the range. Let's say the industry is going to range of around 11 to 12%. Our growth depends on the number of hospital beds being added in the country. So typically, what we are seeing right now, almost 80,000 to 1 lakh hospital beds are getting added every year, which is around from the 14 lakh beds which are currently present in the country, hospital beds, around 80,000 to 1 lakh beds are getting added every year. So with that increase, 6 to 7% increase, and plus the increase in, let's say, a reduction in hospital stay of the patient, because many surgeries are going to day surgeries and, are now today with less number of hospital stays today. So I think overall the industry is going around 11 to 12%. And that growth will definitely be there. And plus, as we are growing as a company, and earlier I've already informed our esteemed shareholders that the growth this year we have first 6 months we have grown around 35% in the domestic business. So definitely we are growing at a much higher rate compared to the industry growth. So we are taking more market share from organized players or unorganized players, and I think for us that is a huge delta available. And the market is huge. Probably we have reached only 25% of the market today in India. So there's still 75% is still open for us.
So just a follow-up question. So when we do business in India and when we do a business as we are planning to do in US, the business model remains the same, that is through hospitals, or there is some change in the way we do business?
No. So India is very different. India, we have our own reps. So we have close to around 275 people on the ground in India. They are directly employed by the company, which are reps, clinical experts, nurses, and even doctors. And overseas, we work with large distribution partners. We don't have any people on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, and good luck for the coming
Thank you.
quarters.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for the closing comments.
Thank you once again, everyone, for being on the call. And if you have any follow-up questions, please do send an email to our company secretary or to our CFO, Mr. Naresh Vijay, and we'll be happy to answer them. And thank you again for your support and confidence in the business. Thank you very much.